So far, we have dwelt into writing some pretty interesting scripts to make objects do some amazing things in Unity, and we have also taken an interesting look at making assets, both 2D as well as 3D. So you must have come across the thought, yes, well, how do I combine the two? Well, as you might have guessed, this is the video just for that. In this video, we will see how to import assets and animations to Unity, and as a little added bonus on watching the entire video, you can unlock the Unity Asset Store perk. Hello people, and welcome back to our workshop for ReSpawn 2022. As you might or might not have guessed from the video title, in this section we will be importing the assets we have spent hours on perfecting and using them in making our game. So, I hope you're excited because I sure am. Nothing beats the satisfaction of watching a game you poured your time into coming together and looking absolutely gorgeous. So I hope you have your seatbelts buckled because this is going to be a good ride for you.
Let's get started. So first off, we will be looking at importing models as well as animations from Blender. For that purpose, we will be looking at two methods of importing from Blender. To get started, navigate to your model and open it up in Blender. As you can see, for this part, we will be making use of the robot arm that we made on our series on Blender modeling and animations. For the first method, we will be using the good old FBX exporting. To do this, simply go to the File menu, choose Export, and click on FBX. Now, if you wish to micromanage what you are exporting and what you aren't, you can select the Selected Objects option here and select the objects that you wish to export, but we are not going to do that. We are just going to export all of our assets. Once we have those, we can simply navigate to our Unity's asset folder and save a file. We are going to save our file as robotarm.fbx and hit export fbx to export the file. Once the file finishes exporting, Unity is going to read it, and we can see that we have got a prefab here with the model as well as the animations that we have created inside of Blender. You can now drag it into the scene and use it as an object. This prefab can also be edited as per your liking, but there will be certain restrictions on the animations since they have been bought in using Blender. The method we looked at works wonders if you are working in a team. A part of the team makes the models, checks if the dimensions, lighting, etc. look good, and sends them off towards the devs. But if you are both the designer as well as a developer, why bother with exporting an FBX and re-exporting it each time you end up making a change? Would it be amazing if you could just see the changes made by you in Blender straight in Unity? Well, great news! You can do just that. Alternative to exporting an FBX file, you can also save your blend file directly in Unity's asset folder. So now, we are going to go on ahead and move our Blender file into Unity's asset folder. Now we wait for Unity to import and render the model. Note that for this method to work, you need to have a supported version of the Unity engine and Blender installed. Otherwise, you would get an import error. And along the same lines, if at any time you uninstall Blender, Unity will also start throwing an import error. Now while we wait, please consider liking the video if you are enjoying it so far and subscribing to our channel to keep yourself updated with upcoming videos. Once Unity finishes reading the file, you will see a prefab in our editor. Now to see the amazing thing about importing an asset using this method, let's head back to our model and open it up in Blender. If we were to make any change in our model, say we rotate this part of our model and we save it, and if we head over to Unity, now you will notice that instead of having to edit this part out separately, you can see that Unity has just imported the change here. Now if you were to go back in and rotate this part again and again save it, you can see that Unity will just re-import the model with the changes all by itself without you having to make any changes or re-exporting the file. There is one last thing we need to do before we can make use of our animations, and that is to have an Animator controller for our model. To do this, simply right-click in the project window, go to the Create menu and look for the Animator controller. You can name your Animator controller as you wish. We are going to name it ARM_controller in our case. Once you have done creating that, you can move on to your object in the hierarchy, click on Add Component and search for the Animator. Once you have added the Animator, under the control property, you can click on Add and select the ARM controller. After doing that, you can now head on over to the window menu, and under the animation tab, you can select the animator, and as you can see here, this will allow you to edit out your animations, and using the parameters tab, you can set various parameters to control your animations like a floating point number, an integer, a boolean or a trigger, which will then change your animation depending on the current value the variable has. Now, to add an animation here, you can simply click on the arrow here to expand the model and drag in the required animation. Now, as you can see, the very first animation that you're going to add is going to be connected directly to the entry node, which is the very first node that is executed as soon as the file plays. So, if we do not apply any condition to this particular transition, then as soon as the game starts playing, your model is going to directly transition to this animation and it will start playing. Well, let's go ahead and test it out. So we go back to our scene view, then we hit play. As you can see, the robotic arm bends down once and makes a grabbing motion as was shown in the Blender tutorial. But you can also see that the model has moved slightly and has shifted to the origin. To combat that, select your robot arm and choose the apply root motion option in the animator. Once you've done that, and when you hit play, you will notice that you no longer face that problem and your arm works as intended. That is it. You're done with importing 3D models. Pretty simple, huh? Now that we have covered that, 2D art can also be imported along the same lines pretty much simply by exporting your art as an image format supported by Unity. You can either then export the file to your project directory, or you can simply drag and drop your asset to your Unity's project window, and you can see that it has been added to your Unity directory, and then you can freely use it inside of your project. And any other assets like sounds or some other extra effects that you would be working with can also be added in pretty much the same way by dragging and dropping them to your project window. Now then, enough about importing assets made by us. Now imagine a situation where you require an asset, but you do not have the resources or the skills required to make them yourself. For situations like these, you can turn to the Unity Asset Store, or as I had mentioned earlier, the bonus section of the video. So, let's open up our browser and go to assetstore.unity.com and sign in using a Unity account. Once you have signed in, you can now browse assets, both free as well as paid, and add them to your account and use them in your projects based on the terms and conditions. Let's say we require neon pack so that we can add better particle effects. So let's search for those. So neon particle effects. Now you can see we have the options between free as well as paid assets here. I will be looking at free assets only. Let's go ahead and choose this. Here you can see a video preview, some images, you can read a description. If you click on add to my assets, then you will be prompted to read the terms and conditions and agree to them. Once you accept them, the asset has now been added to your account and you can now use it freely as you wish. Now once the asset has been added to your account, you can now use it freely by going to Unity, going to the window menu, selecting package manager. Now here in the packages drop down list, select my assets, and here just search for the asset that you wish to import. So now just click on download, and once it is finished downloading, just click on import. Select the parts that you require. Here we are importing the entire asset and just click on import. Now, as you can see, now we have a new folder called PE2D, which is the Particle Effects 2D asset that we have just downloaded. And in here, you can find the different components of the asset to use as you wish. So that was it for the Unity Asset Store. Now, as a small added bonus, I will leave you with one another amazing asset that you can use. So, if you're working with a 2D game, then instead of having to export your PSD files every time from Photoshop, you can also alternatively go to the Unity registry here and search for 2D PSD importer. What this will do is it will allow you to import your PSD files based on the layers itself. Wait for the scripts to compile. And now we can just drag in a PSD file and it will be imported directly. Here we can see the PSD importer has imported our asset and we can use it freely as we want. Well folks, that was it from our side for this video. We liked the video and got to learn something new and useful. Don't forget to subscribe and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for your time.